Good morning, Jerusalem. Or should I say, welcome back, Your Majesty? Because David's returning from exile, and you'd think the whole city would be throwing flowers. But the truth, Upper Kingdom, David's road home was paved with heartbreak and more palace drama than ever. You know you love me, XOXO, Gossip Girl. So where were we? Absalom, David's golden boy, rebel prince, hair icon, was gone. Killed under that oak tree. The rebellion crushed. But instead of cheering victory, David's army came back into Mahanaim like men who'd lost. My brother, who followed the army as a supply runner, said Joab stomped into David's chambers, face thunder dark, and snapped, "You're shaming your men who just saved your life." Joab told him to go stand in the gate and smile, or the soldiers would abandon him by nightfall. And so David did it. He sat in the gate, forcing a shaky smile, greeting every man who passed like his heart wasn't lying shattered on the stones. Because that's what kings do, even when they'd rather be screaming in grief. Meanwhile, news was spreading that the king wanted to come back to Jerusalem, but the tribes were arguing. Should they welcome him or not? Some said David abandoned them. Others whispered, he's still God's chosen king. Enter the tribe of Judah. David sent word to the elders. Why should you be last to bring me back when you're my own flesh and blood? A little royal guilt trip, classic David. And that's how the Judahites showed up in droves at the Jordan River, ready to ferry David across. Boats, music, shouts, but also awkward tension, because not everyone was happy to see him return. One of the first people David met on the riverbank? Shimei. Yes, that same Shimei who'd thrown rocks at David and called him a murderer on his way out. Now he's bowing so low his nose was in the mud, begging forgiveness. Abishai, Joab's brother, wanted to chop Shimei's head off, again. But David waved him away. Shall anyone be put to death in Israel today? David was trying to play peacemaker, but don't kid yourselves, Upper Kingdom. People have long memories. And who else came limping down the riverbank? Mephibosheth, his beard untrimmed, clothes dirty. He looked like he hadn't washed since David fled. He claimed he'd been betrayed by Ziba and never wanted to stay behind. David, emotionally exhausted, just split Saul's lands between them both. Messy. Then there was Barzillai, the old man who fed David in exile. David tried to bring him back to Jerusalem to live at court, but Barzillai, legend that he was, politely declined, saying he was too old for royal life. Instead, he sent his servant Chimham to go in his place, because even the best kings need friends who keep it real. So David crossed the Jordan, music playing, priests chanting, women tossing flowers. But the moment his sandal hit Jerusalem's stone, the fighting started all over again. The tribes of Israel were fuming that Judah took over the king's return. The words favoritism and David's partiality were flying thicker than arrows. And out of nowhere, a man named Sheba, son of Bichri, blew a trumpet and yelled, "We have no share in David." Boom. Instant new rebellion. Can't even get one peaceful day in this kingdom. David sent Joab after Sheba. Joab tracked him to the city of Abel Beth Maacah. The people there negotiated a truce and threw Sheba's severed head over the wall. Problem solved. Brutal, but effective. But just because David was home didn't mean his troubles were over. The palace was awkward. Michal, back in her royal chambers, avoided David's eyes. The other wives gave each other side eyes in the corridors. Bathsheba was quietly gaining influence, raising young Solomon under everyone's watchful gaze. My brother said David looked older overnight. More lines on his face, more shadows in his eyes. He was still king, still writing psalms, but the man who danced before the ark wasn't the same man who walked back into Jerusalem that day. And the city, oh, the city. Jerusalem was buzzing. Who would be the heir? Would it be Solomon? Another son? Would the tribe stay loyal? People whispered behind veils, glancing over their shoulders. Because one thing was clear, the house of David was far from done making headlines. But David, he sat back on the throne, staff in hand, harp at his side, and kept leading his people. Because he was still a king, even if his own heart was scarred beyond repair. And me? I'm still here, slinging secrets, tambourine jingling, pretending not to care, still hopelessly waiting for one glance from those lion eyes. Because in Jerusalem, crowns shine, but the gossip shines brighter. And don't worry, because next time, I'll spill every drop of tea about David's final days, and the race to see who'd wear his crown next. XOXO, Gossip Girl.